Welcome back to another episode of Off the Bench, Northern Arizona Prep Sports, presented by Rice Accounting and Jackson Hewitt Tax Services and Cottonwood Parks and Recreation. I'm your host, Philip Catalfamo. We have got a great show in store for you this week. Later in the program, we'll be joined by Mohave High School senior Devin McDaniel. He'll speak about what got him playing baseball, how he's grown as a player throughout the years, and talks about his plans after graduation. We'll then be joined by Lee Williams High School tennis coach Matt Larson. He'll break down the season. He'll give his thoughts on the section and what the plan is for the offseason. And when we return from break, we'll be joined by Flagstaff High School baseball coach Michael DoBosh. He'll join the show to speak about the playoffs, what it meant to play at Chase Field this season, and his upcoming retirement. All of that and a whole lot more coming up right here on Off the Bench. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Two things we can count on every year:
a new set of tax rules and great weather here in Northern Arizona.
Jackson Hewitt Tax Service, locally owned and operated by Lewis Rice since 1997, is here for you all year long.
Your neighborhood Jackson Hewitt Tax Office will help you in all of your taxing situations.
Electronic filing is always free with your tax preparation at Jackson Hewitt Tax Service.
Get more in return. Call 1-800-234-1040 for an office near you.
Welcome back to Off the Bench, Northern Arizona Prep Sports, presented by Rice Accounting and Jackson Hewitt Tax Services and Cottonwood Parks and Recreation. I'm joined now by a familiar face of the program. He is Flagstaff High School baseball coach Michael DoBosh. Coach DoBosh, welcome back onto the program.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, we're very happy to have you, Coach. First and foremost, Coach DoBosh is retiring at the end of this season. We'll talk a little bit about Coach DoBosh's career and some of the things that he'll miss coaching at Flagstaff High School. So first and foremost, Coach, thank you very much for your dedication to the program and always taking the time to come on the show. And I really appreciate getting to know you these past couple of years and your expertise and your knowledge. And it's been very, very fun. And I look forward to the rest of this interview. I'm making it seem like we're done now, but speaking more so for the season, before we get into Coach DoBosh's retirement, the Eagles finished the regular season with a 5-7 region record, 10-8 overall. Was able to get them a play-in matchup with Coconino High School, which I know Coach DoBosh loves playing the Panthers of Coconino. So, Coach, just first and foremost, before we jump into the playoffs, how did you feel the season went? Were you able to accomplish some goals that you guys set? And just in general, I mean, how'd you feel the year went?
Yeah, it started a little slow, I think, for us. Obviously coming off of the 2021 season, we were 19-1 in the regular season and had a pretty good run in state there. You never know what to expect in the next year, the 2022 season. And we knew we had to fill some gaps and some holes there from, some of our seniors that had left. So we were a little unsure how we were going to do that. It takes some time for coaches to kind of figure out, which kids can, play.
Always fun to get interrupted by the bell. This is second or third time it's happened with a coach because a lot of coaches are teachers for some of you who are listening and I don't know, it's just fun. Sorry, go ahead.
But yeah, it just took a little while for us to figure out who could play in different positions and, who performed well in these types of situations. And then I think we kind of hit our stride probably just after we got back from the Tucson tournament. It seemed like we started really clicking a little bit better and playing a little bit better baseball. So,
Coach, you talk about that 2021 team, obviously a very special group. You get a few of those guys back this season. How did you see this team grow? Like you said, a slower start to begin the year. You guys obviously put it together late because you able to make the playoffs, go into the first round. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But just first and foremost, Coach, how did you see this team grow this year together as the season went along?
Yeah, we saw some kids really step up their game. When we needed it the most. Like I said, it was a struggle there early on. It seemed like, and in the beginning of the season. But, kids like Teague Van Dyke had to step in and play shortstop. He's probably not a typical shortstop in terms of, what he does on the baseball field. And he had really big shoes to fill in Silas Clary the year before. So, and Teague did a great job for us, very solid defensively. On the mound, we needed guys to step up and fill Silas and Justin's shoes from 2021. And Bodie Meyer did a great job of keeping us in ball games. We knew offensively, kids like Tristan Figueroa would need to have big years, and he did. Other kids that stepped up, Chad Philpott, a senior for us this year, played left field and was our backup catcher, had a real good offensive year. Mm-hmm. And then Jake Carpenter was a new guy. He's a sophomore, so we weren't quite sure what he could do for us, and he had a great year. He had a 400, played center field for us. So, those are some guys that stepped up for us, and we needed that this year, in order for us to be competitive.
Let's talk a little bit about that senior group, Coach. What can you say about this year's senior class? Like you said, having to fill the shoes of some very, very talented players that you had graduate last year.
Yeah, I think they did a great job this year. Obviously they were part of last year's, almost all of them were part of last year's run, and they experienced, what it was like to win just about every game you played in. And so this year, the start of the season when we were struggling, they really came together and kind of held the team together, just so that, kids weren't getting frustrated and disappointed in their performances and the outcomes of games. So, we had 10 seniors this year. I think 8 of them were part of last year's group. Actually, 7 of them were part of last year's group. We had a few kids, new seniors, that decided to play this year. Ben Smith decided to play this year, his first year in high school playing. He's a hockey kid normally. We also had Morgan Q, who's a big-time athlete here, plays golf, basketball. He decided to play again. And then Leighton Hagerman, who's a big-time tennis player, decided to play baseball this year. But the rest of the seniors were all returners. So, they did a real good job of just kind of keeping the group together.
Coach, you guys got an opportunity to go down to Chase Field where the Arizona Diamondbacks play and get a chance to coach your team out on an MLB's field. I know this isn't the first time that you've gotten a chance to go down and coach at Chase Field, but, I myself didn't get a chance to play college or ball at the next level. I know, some kids get a chance to, some kids don't. And an opportunity like this, I mean, in your words, what is it like to get a chance to have these kids go down and be in a major league clubhouse, be on a major league baseball field? I mean, what kind of experience is that, not only for you coaching, but for the kids who get to play out on the field?
Yeah, obviously it's an amazing experience, but I don't think I really quite understood until, the week after we played there. I was watching a D-backs game. Yeah. And, I'm watching going, hey, I was in that dugout, or I was, I was in the third base coach's box, just like those guys were. So, but yeah, I mean, what a great experience. Some of the seniors put in their senior comments on senior day that their best moment, their best memory of high school baseball was playing in that stadium. So obviously a big day for them and amazing for me as well.
Now, of course, that wasn't the last time that you got a chance to take on the Coconino Panthers. You guys came in together in the play-in round for baseball, as, of course, like I mentioned, the Flagstaff Eagles were able to make the playoffs this year, get that first play-in game against Coconino High School. So, Coach, a strong win against a rival opponent. I know you love playing against Coco. It was the last time you get a chance to play against them, and what a time to play against them, of course. But, I just want to ask, Coach, how did that playoff game go in your opinion? It obviously, like I kind of spoiled it, you guys obviously won. Were able to go to round one. But how did it feel to get that play-in win, especially, like you said, with this season starting out the way that it had?
Yeah, and we lost, 2 times to Coconino in the regular season. One at Chase Field was really close, 4-3. We had the lead late, and they came back and took it from us. And then at our field, we lost. I think it was 11-5. But again, I think it was 5-5 going into the 5th inning. So that was a tight ball game for most of the game. So, you're obviously disappointed after losing 2 games, particularly, against the rival crosstown team. And so it was, it's a good thing and a bad thing, I think, playing them in the first round. I think every Grand Canyon region team won that day except Coconino, and it was unfortunate. I think if we're playing someone else and they're playing someone else, then, we might be talking about how all of the Grand Canyon region teams moved on to the next round. So, but someone had to win that game. And, we were excited to prove that we could beat them. Obviously, they're a great team, well coached. We got some great ball players over there. So, it was an exciting game. It meant the world to us, to beat them and get into that first round of state. So,
of course, that win against Coconino set up a round 1 matchup against number 3 South Point Catholic, which is always a very, very, very tough school and a tough program to play against. I know the Mingus Marauder softball team is currently hoping to not get a matchup against South Point Catholic in the playoffs just because of how great those programs are. So, I mean, you get a chance to take on South Point. Let's just talk a little bit about that game, Coach. I mean, how did you feel about the guys' efforts? I know it didn't go your way, but making it to round 1 in the playoffs is always a great accomplishment.
Yeah, and what a great team. I mean, just an amazing program. I know Coach Danny Preble pretty well down there, so he does a great job with those guys. It's another world when you're down there playing against teams like that. And so, I mean, you really have to play your best baseball, in order to challenge a team like that. It was kind of similar to, we played them in 2021. It was a kind of a similar game. We took the lead early. I think in 2021, Silas hit a home run in the first inning, and we took the lead 3-0. And then this year we took the lead 1-0 on a base hit from Chad, and then a sacrifice fly from Teague Van Dyke. So we held the lead until the 4th inning, and they scored 5 runs in the 4th, and eventually beat us 10-1. But it was a challenge. Our kids battled and played hard. Obviously, it was exciting there at the beginning when we took the lead. I think we only had 2 hits that day. The kid that they threw, the kid on the mound, was really good and effective. Slider was really good. So it was tough putting anything together for us. We threw Bodie Meyer. Bodie did a great job. We had to take him out in the 4th inning, but up to that point, he really did a good job keeping them off balance. So it's always tough, but when you get to that point in the playoffs, everyone's good. You're going to play someone tough. You're going to get their best pitcher. That's why, teams want to finish in the top 8. So they get that first round bye, and then they're fresh to play whoever's coming in. So, we knew it was going to be tough, a tough challenge. The trip down there is a tough challenge. The weather down there is a tough challenge. And obviously the team is a tough challenge in playing South Point, but, you want the opportunity to do that. And, we held the saying, why not us? Yeah. We're a good team too. It's why we're in the playoffs. We beat some good teams throughout the year. And if we can play our game and get a little lucky and get a little help that day, we thought we had a chance to win.
Again, we were speaking with Flagstaff High School baseball coach Michael DoBosh. The Eagles were able to get a round 1 playoff matchup with South Point Catholic. Coach, just kind of moving along here. I know you're not going to be back next season because you are retiring after this year, or officially, I guess you'd say retired now. But I want to ask, just have you named a replacement yet? And if so, who is that? And who might we see come back next season for the program? Just for some of the Flagstaff fans who are listening, that just a couple names that they might be seeing back on the roster next season, even though there's going to be a coaching change.
Yeah, and I'm not sure who will replace me. They'll do a hiring process here, and hopefully they do that pretty soon with summer baseball coming up. In terms of kids coming back next year, I mean, I've mentioned a few of them already. Obviously, Jake Carpenter played center field for us just about every game,
right,
and led the team in hitting. So I think he's a big name for us. On the mound, Caleb Clifton is another big name. We got some young kids coming up. Drew Smith will be a sophomore next year. He throws really hard. Mm-hmm. Connor Iniguez will be a sophomore. Connor Smith will be a sophomore. Wyatt Schmidt will be a sophomore. All big kids with big arms. I think that looks good for the future. Logan Weidinger is a young kid, a catcher coming up, and he's got a chance to make the varsity roster. Heath Lopez played some short for us this year, some second. Luke Wilson had a great season playing third base for us and pitches a little bit. So there's definitely some kids coming up and some returners. we'll see next year. And I think they have a really good chance of being really good next year with the influx of arms that we should see, and then also the returning position players as well.
Coach, you kind of mentioned it earlier. Obviously, you guys got a matchup against fellow region opponent Coconino High School in the playoffs, along with, of course, Bradshaw making it, Prescott, Mingus Union, Lee Williams, pretty much everybody except Mojave, unfortunately, were able to make it to the playoffs this year. So, Coach, I want to ask you your assessment of the region before you were officially or no longer have to worry about the region anymore. But strong region this year. I know you can agree with that. But I want to ask, how else did you feel the region fared this year? And what can you say about the competition going forward? Like you said, Flagstaff welcoming back some solid talent. Mingus Union will as well. Prescott, Bradshaw, everybody's going to be returning back. Who they return, who knows who transfers, who knows what standout freshmen, come out of nowhere, or what JV kids have been hiding in the wings for a while. But Coach, what was your assessment of the region this year? I just very, very tough this year, I'm sure is something we can agree on.
Yeah, very, very strong region. I mean, very competitive. I mean, even if you look at us, we finished second to last in our region, and we end up, getting a first round win against Coconino, or a play-in win, and then get to go to the first round of state. So, I mean, that speaks volumes right there. Highly competitive, up and down the region. All the teams except Mojave made it to the first round of state. I think that shows you how competitive that is. We were all in the top 24 of the state 4A playoff or 4A ranking. So, yeah, I mean, just some really good baseball. I think a lot of people underestimate us in terms of, being up north, and, we start when it's cold and we have to travel a lot. And there's some really good baseball being played up here. And that's just, that's goes to all the coaches, Brian at Bradshaw and Eric at Mingus, and Mike over at Coconino, all those guys, they do a great job. Zach at Lee Williams is a new coach over there. Barry's the new coach at Prescott. RB's the new coach at Mojave. I mean, they're all doing phenomenal jobs, putting together great teams, teaching it the right way. Yeah. That's something we talk about a lot. Sometimes we travel to some other places in Arizona where, it's not taught the right way, and kids are allowed to do and say whatever they want. And I think our region does a really good job of playing baseball the way it should be played. So, I don't see it changing. In the next several years, I think they'll be just as strong next year.
I totally agree. I think you hit it on the head on the net. You hit it right there, Coach. It was perfect. You're right. I also agree. I think going forward, we're going to see a lot more 4A Grand Canyon region teams circulating in the playoffs every year. You'll have your down years here and there, but I 100% agree. I think this region really made its stamp this year in a lot of sports, to sort of put the rest of Arizona on notice that there is some great sports happening up here in northern Arizona outside of just the 4A Grand Canyon region. I've talked with a couple 1A coaches, 2A coaches, 3A here in northern Arizona. We got a lot of schools with some great programs. In fact, close to you, Coach, Northland Prep Academy's girls soccer program is like 4-time straight state title champion. So just to give you an idea of just really how wonderful and how great the talent is here in northern Arizona. I mean, Flagstaff is just one of many, like Coach DoBosh said. Coach, we got a couple more minutes before we end the interview here. Like I mentioned at the top of the show, this is Coach DoBosh's final season. He is officially no longer the baseball coach over at Flagstaff High School. So, Coach, I just wanted to ask a couple questions about, how you've grown as a coach and some things you'll miss. So first and foremost, you come to the program at Flagstaff, you turn it into what it has become, which is a program that is in and out of the playoffs constantly, sometimes almost making it to the championship. I mean, really a contender every single year. But I want to ask, as a coach, how have you grown since starting this position and to where we're at now?
Yeah, I think probably the most growth I've seen is just in maybe demeanor or I think when I was a younger coach, I was pretty strict and, kids are going to do it this way and this way. And, I think as I've grown, I've maybe calmed down a little bit, I guess is the best way to put it. And really have, listened to my kids a lot more and ask them, hey, what do we need? what do you guys need to be successful? And, and so I think in that way, I've probably grown the most. Baseball's a simple sport. It's hard for sure, but in terms of rules and things like that, it's not like football where you're putting in a 50 page playbook or something like that. So I think in terms of the mechanics and the philosophy of teaching baseball, that hasn't changed much, but just maybe the approach that I've had over the years has changed a little bit. So,
Coach, can you tell me a little bit about getting the opportunity to coach your son? My dad got a chance to coach me when I played baseball. It was a great experience. So I want to ask you, how did it feel to get that opportunity to see your boy go through your same program?
Oh, that means the world to you. Why else do you do it if you're a baseball coach and you happen to have a son that plays baseball? To see him go through the program and accomplish, the great things that he accomplished. He got an opportunity to play college baseball as well. So, you're just so proud of them when they do that, and to be with him every day and see him on the field every day and work with him every day. That's probably the most important memories I'll have, as I go into retirement, is thinking back on him playing for me and for the program.
Do you have any other specific on the field memories, Coach? Any game that kind of jumps out at you that, sticks with you when you think about this program?
Well, definitely this last game against, Coconino. That's a big one, for sure. We had, the 2021 season. There's lots of games in there that I'll remember. And, my son's senior year, 2019, we were pretty good. Yeah. We were 24th, and we went down and beat Shadow Mountain, the number 9 ranked team. Wow. So that was pretty cool to experience that. 2014 team as well. Kyle Wilson's year, Tanner Furman. We were really good at that year as well. We made it to the top 8 and eventually lost to Greenway, who was the state champion that year. But there's just little moments here or there. I love seeing my ex-players come back. I have one coaching for me right now. Scooter Carrillo played for me in 04, 05, 06, I believe. And now he's back. He's coaching. He's a grown man, and he's got a profession, and he's got kids. And, it's just great to see these young kids, turn into really good men. And that's what you want, right? The baseball ends, right? The opportunity to go on and play college baseball and then obviously professional baseball is very rare. But, we, as coaches, we want to see that these kids are prepared for life. Hopefully we've taught them, how to deal with challenges, how to be good men, how to be good fathers and good husbands. So right. It's always, it's cool to see that.
Well, again, we are speaking with Flagstaff High School baseball coach Michael DoBosh. The Eagles were able to make it to round 1 of the playoffs this season. Coach DoBosh has officially retired as the head baseball coach for Flagstaff High School. So, Coach, I think it's only fitting that there's one last question to ask you, and that is, you going to miss the Coconino Panthers?
That's a tough question. It's funny. You're friends with them throughout the year, and then you play them those couple times. This year happened to be 3 times, but yeah, it's such a heated rivalry during the game. It's a big moment. So I feel a lot of stress going into the game, a lot of pressure. I don't know if the kids feel that or not, but and then after, everyone's friends and it's back to normal. But yeah, those are tough games. It's kind of a unique situation that we have here in the town of Flagstaff with the 2 high schools, and the rivalry that we have. So, but it's definitely cool.
Well, Coach, I'm sure I can speak for everybody who's gone through your program, who's had a kid go through your program, or has just gotten a chance to see Flagstaff baseball, when I say thank you. And thank you very much for taking the time to come on the show. It's been great getting to know you these past 2 years, Coach, and I wish you nothing but the best of luck going forward. Hopefully we'll see you out at the baseball diamond here and there, but I really appreciate your time, sir.
All right. Thank you very much.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll be joined by Mohave High School senior Devin McDaniel. We'll continue our baseball conversation right here on Off the Bench. Don't go anywhere.
two things we can count on every year:
a new set of tax rules, and great weather here in northern Arizona.
Jackson Hewitt Tax Service, locally owned and operated by Lewis Rice since 1997, is here for you all year long.
Your neighborhood Jackson Hewitt Tax Office will help you in all of your taxing situations.
Electronic filing is always free with your tax preparation at Jackson Hewitt Tax Service.
Get more in return. Call 1-800-234-1040 for an office near you.
Welcome back to Off the Bench, Northern Arizona Prep Sports, presented by Rice Accounting and Jackson Hewitt Tax Services and Cottonwood Parks and Recreation. I'm joined now by a familiar face of the show and a relatively newer face of the show, Mohave High School baseball coach Dale Bauer, along with fellow senior Devin McDaniel. Gentlemen, welcome on to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us. It's always good on your show, Philip.
Well, we're always happy to have you both. Coach Bauer, again, extending the congratulations on finishing your first year at Mohave High School. I know you've spoken very highly about Devin. So just real quick, before you hand the phone off to him, Coach, if you just want to say anything about Devin, just in terms of the leadership that he brought this season in your first year at Mohave.
Yeah, I've learned to really rely on this guy here, him and a couple guys, River Borland, of course, and then Dylan Crandall. But this guy here was like a coach on the field, man. So you have those, and I've had him in all my programs. But this guy here was just a baseball guy, man. He knows baseball and pitches. He'll do anything for you. Infield, outfield. We were getting handed to us over in Bradshaw Mountain. He came to me and said, hey, put me on the outfield. So they went out and shut off some of these little fly balls that we were dropping. And so good senior leadership, coach on the field. We're just trying to get him looked at some colleges. I like to see him get him hooked up before the end of the summer. Some scholarships are out there. So I thought we could expose him a little bit, get some exposure for him on your show, and then we'll go from there. But he's you can put him anywhere in the lineup. Number 2, hitting bat, swing, and he'll bunt. He'll anything. This guy will do anything. One time I think you were hitting a 477 clip or something, man. He was going crazy. 577. Or 577 was, yeah. So it's like he doesn't know, right? I mean, he's going to know his stats. But anyway, I'd like to introduce you to him as Devin McDaniels, and he's just a class act. I'm going to hand it over to him and have fun with him, Philip. Appreciate it.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Coach Bauer. So as we get the phone handed over, again, we are speaking now with Mohave High School senior Devin McDaniels. Devin, welcome onto the show, man. Congratulations on finishing your last couple years at Mohave. I know they were a little wild with the pandemic, but, congrats on finishing the year. And let's start first and foremost from the beginning. I mean, what got you interested in playing the game of baseball?
Oh, wait, it kind of cut out.
What got you started playing baseball?
Well, I've been in like a baseball, softball family my whole life. My brother always played, so we'd always go in the backyard and play catch. Dude would just huck it at me, man. He did not go easy on me. So it's kind of my brother that got me into baseball, playing since I was like 4. So,
what are some of your athletic role models?
Oh, okay. My athletic role models. This is going to sound weird, but like my sister went to college. She played softball up there. She's such like I don't really like celebrities, to be honest with you, but my sister, she's always been a big role model for me. She teaches me how to be on the field, how to be a class act, respect, and everything like that. So gone from there. It's been a pretty nice trip.
So, I mean, you talk about being that role model on the field. Obviously, Coach Bauer talked very highly of you, of kind of being like a coach on the field. And even in a few instances, you see a couple fly balls get dropped in the outfield and you go, well, you know what, I can catch them. So let me go out there and help out the team a little bit. Was it your sister kind of helping you to build that, like you had mentioned, sort of building that on the field persona, building that on the field sort of, commander, sort of like captain of the team? Was she kind of instrumental in sort of you becoming a leader on the squad, or was that something that more that you've kind of just adopted yourself?
Yeah, my sister she's always been like a kind of like strong person. She's always vocal, so I feel like I kind of got that from her. I always speak my mind, and then if I'm just like, I feel like I'm a team player. Wherever they need me, I'll do it. just it is what it is. I'm not picky. I won't get upset. I'll just go wherever I need to go for the best of the team.
What does the game of baseball mean to you?
Oh my goodness. I love that question. But baseball is like, honestly, it's about camaraderie. I love my team. I'll do anything for those guys. So like baseball itself, I've been playing for so long. It's just like, it's basically my life at this point. So I really want to go to the next level and just step up and keep playing. I don't know what I'd do without baseball. It's everything to me.
Well, let's talk a little bit about you up at the plate, because obviously, you know, Coach Bauer was saying that you've had a great season up at the plate for Mojave. You know, how do you kind of approach your at-bats? Where do you make adjustments? How do you make adjustments during an at-bat? And where do you kind of, you know, change your swing, or how is your swing developed? Just in general, I mean, how do you approach being up at the plate?
Yeah. So I tell everybody this. When I go to the plate, you just got to be confident. Don't get anything in your head. When you're cool and like calm, that's when I hit the best. That's when I make the best contact. But like with everything, so like if it's a faster pitcher, obviously I'm going to step back a little bit. Slower pitcher, step up. But curveballs, if somebody's got like a nasty pitches, I usually sit in the middle because I like to like sit back and I just take them. It's pretty nice. I'm more of like a contact hitter, not more of like a power hitter. I mean, I have my moments of power hitting, but mostly it's just contact. I get base hits all the time. It's pretty much what I'm there for.
You know, you've obviously been playing at Mojave now for a couple of years. You're coming out of your senior year. Like we just said, we're speaking with Mohave High School senior Devin McDaniel. You know, what is your favorite memory while playing at Mohave High School? I mean, it can be from this year, or it can even be from before.
My favorite memory. I'm gonna be honest. I love the bus trips with my friends. But like that's another thing though. But my favorite moment was like I pitched as a freshman on varsity, and that was crazy to me. I feel like that was kind of my favorite. I did get raked off of. It happens, but it was a cool moment to pitch as a freshman.
Well, let's talk about you pitching a little bit. I mean, you know, obviously you talked about your plate approach. I mean, what about up on the mound? You know, being the pitcher, whether you're starting or coming in relief, has a lot of pressure to it. You seem like a pretty relaxed kid. You talked about sort of being relaxed up at the plate. Do you have that same mentality when you go on the mound? You get up a couple hits, you sort of just try to keep focused and try to keep yourself sane. I mean, how do you approach the position of pitcher?
Yeah. So honestly, I don't really like get upset at all, but when I'm on the mound,
I kind of feel that.
I'm in like my own little world, to be honest with you. Like I don't hear anything. I don't like people like talking to me when I'm on the mound, to be honest. Like I just like try to keep in because I know what I'm doing. Like I know what I'm doing, and then I just do it. If other teams chanting or anything, that's nothing. Just it goes in one ear out the other. We just do what we have to do.
Are you the same way when you've got runners on? Do you try to stay, again, just sort of grounded in the moment?
Yeah. I mean, I do pickoffs and stuff, but like I'm usually just like really focused on the batter.
What kind of pitches do you throw, Devin? What's your go-to pitch, and what's your, one that you want to kind of either work into the repertoire a little more, or something you'd like to add?
So I throw a 4-seam, a 2-seam, a circle change, and a slider. So mostly 4-seam fastballs, except I throw 2-seams a lot. My 2-seam is like it's got a lot of movement because like the way I throw, it's kind of like from the side and not like straight down, like 90 degrees, like people say. So it puts a little bit more movement on it. But my slider is probably my best pitch. That thing is crazy. I love my slider. But I want to work more on my circle change. Kind of hard to throw. I got to get a little more dialed in. But when it's on,
grip on it is it's a little strange how you have to grip a circle change.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to throw. I got to figure that one out a little bit more.
You ever think about turning your 2-seamer into a cutter with all the movement you have on it?
I could do that, to be honest. I could. That'd be actually really cool. I should do that.
Again, we're speaking with Mohave High School senior Devin McDaniels. Devin is graduating at Mohave High School. We're talking to him a little bit about, playing baseball throughout the years at Mojave. Devin, how have you grown as a person throughout the years playing baseball? You talk about obviously being a leader on the field. Baseball, you love hanging out with your teammates. You mentioned the camaraderie of the game that you're going to miss. I mean, how have you grown as a person from your freshman year to now your senior year?
Well, freshman year had a whole different mentality. I was kind of a hothead. I didn't really take anything from anybody. But as the years went on, I think I got a little more calmed down, because being a hothead doesn't really help anything, to be honest. Just, it's not the best look for people. So kind of calmed down. Not really like that anymore. I have my moments sometimes, but for most part, cool, calm, and collected now. But I was kind of a wild one back in freshman, sophomore year, but it's all better now.
I mean, like you say, you talk about your demeanor being much more relaxed since your freshman year. I mean, do you feel like that's what the game has taught you, maybe to just sort of take a step back and take the bad moments as they are and take the good moments, with what they are as well. And of course, kind of just taking it all in stride. I mean, what has the game specifically taught you as a person that you've been able to apply in life?
Well, to be honest, it's taught me that you can't control everything. You can't control the whole game. It's a team sport. It's not like a self sport. So I kind of I don't get down, because if I get down, whole team gets down. It just brings the mood down. I don't like doing that. So it's kind of taught me to be more patient with stuff and try to work on making things better in a more positive environment, and to bring everybody down with me,
You have one coach leave after your junior year. You enter into your senior year with a brand new coach in Dale Bauer, this absolute firecracker coming out of California. We've gotten a chance to speak with Coach Bauer on the show. He's a great guy, but I want to ask, how has your relationship grown with Coach? I know he's in the room with you, but how has your relationship grown with him throughout the years? Obviously, he's got a lot of admiration for you. You have a lot of admiration for him. But what has he taught you this season that's really stuck with you?
So I love Coach. He's such a great guy. So glad he came out for my senior year. Wish he could have came sooner, to be honest with you. But he's taught me patience. That's patience with the team. Can't kind of get a little frustrated at moments, but it's all love. Taught me how to not get down on anybody. We all love each other. It's a family. He preaches that all the time. Family, family, family. That's kind of what I've taken most out of him.
So you talk about obviously trying to get a couple looks for some scholarships to play baseball at the next level, but I'm curious, Devin, what are your plans in general after graduating at Mohave High School, whether it be on the baseball field or off?
I would like to play baseball, but I kind of want to be, I wanted to be an electrician. I kind of want to be a lineman, work on telephone poles and stuff, but
yeah, great profession.
I kind of want to pursue baseball, to be honest with you. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity. I feel like I could do very well up in that level. So That's kind of what I want to do at this point.
So you obviously can't see yourself coaching. That was going to be my next question, which was, do you feel that potentially, when your playing days are done, do you think maybe, you step off, or I guess you unhook from the telephone poles or the electric wires and you go down to the baseball diamond? I mean, is coaching in your future potentially, Devin? I mean, maybe a return to Mohave High School to help out with the program at some point as well, or maybe down the line run your own program somewhere?
Yeah, potentially. Coach already asked me to come back and coach for him, so maybe. But I do see coaching in my future. I love the game. I love helping people, making people better. That's I take pride in that. I just love it. I love baseball. That's my sport. I'll love baseball forever. I would love to coach in the future.
Well, Devin, I got one last question for you before we let you go. Obviously, you're going out as a senior. There's a good chance you might be coming back to help coach the program. That's great. Congrats on that. So I wanted to ask, what advice would you give a freshman who is entering Coach Bauer's program for the first time next season? What advice would you give them as somebody who is, despite just only one season, somebody who has actually gotten a chance to be coached under Coach Bauer and be a part of this program for the past 4 years?
Yeah. Honestly, what I tell them is be good to your teammates, man. Your teammates are going to get you through everything. bad game, win or loss, they're always cheer you up. They're always there. So if you don't have a good relationship with your teammates, then you're probably not going to have a good relationship on the field. So stuff isn't going to probably go the best, to be honest with you. So camaraderie, you just got to be good to your teammates. They'll be good to you.
Well, again, that was Mohave High School senior Devin McDaniel. Devin, thank you very much for taking the time to come on the show. Coach Bauer, thank you very much for coordinating the interview and getting us a chance to talk with Devin on the show as well. I wish you both nothing but the best of luck in the future. Devin, good luck with your career going forward. We look forward to potentially seeing you out on the baseball diamond next season alongside Coach Bauer. And, of course, Coach Bauer, we'll talk once the baseball season gets a little closer. So, gentlemen, have a great summer and a safe off season. And we look forward to talking to both of you very soon.
You too.
Appreciate you. Thanks a lot, Philip. Have a good day.
Have a good one.
You too. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll be joined by Lee Williams High School tennis coach Matt Larson right here on Off the Bench. Don't go anywhere.
Two things we can count on every year.
A new set of tax rules and great weather here in northern Arizona.
Jackson Hewitt Tax Service, locally owned and operated by Lewis Rice since 1997, is here for you all year long.
Your neighborhood Jackson Hewitt Tax Office will help you in all of your taxing situations.
Electronic filing is always free with your tax preparation at Jackson Hewitt Tax Service.
Get more in return. Call 1-800-234-1040 for an office near you.
Welcome back to Off the Bench, Northern Arizona Prep Sports, presented by Rice Accounting and Jackson Hewitt Tax Services and Cottonwood Parks and Recreation. I'm joined now by Lee Williams High School tennis coach Matt Larson. Coach Larson, welcome back onto the show.
Thanks for having me.
Well, Coach, we're happy to have you. The Volunteers finished the regular season with an 11-3 overall record, 4-1 in Section 3, earning them the number 13 rank in the state. Coach, how did you feel the regular season went?
You know, when we set out at the beginning of the year and we set our goal was to make it to state. Last year, we had just missed it by a few spots. And so it was very, very satisfying when we got to the final week of the season and top 16 go, and we were able to finish 13th. It was a bit nerve-wracking because we finished our season with a few days left. And so people moved around us, but we were able to hold our spots. So we were very, very happy with that result.
And what are you doing in that time, Coach? You mentioned, obviously, your season wraps up. There's a couple teams still wrapping up their matches. I mean, what are you doing in that time? Are you hosting a few more practices? Are you giving the guys a little couple extra days of rest? I mean, what are you doing to try to fill that time while you're waiting to see who you'll play?
We practiced, I was thinking to myself, this is great either way because the guys are practicing as if we're going to state, and that gives us just a couple more days to practice together. And so then when we got the good news, we rejoiced, and we weren't, scrambling at that point. We'd already been building. And so whether we had made it or not, we were going to practice like we had made it. And that was a great opportunity for us just to keep practicing. So,
well, Coach, like you said, you have obviously that goal this season of making it to the playoffs. You accomplished that goal. I want to ask, where are sort of the differences between last year's team and this year's team?
Everyone just got an extra year of experience. We lost our number one player, one half of our state champion doubles team. So that was a huge loss. We did bring in a transfer senior, so that was huge, who filled in at number 2 right away. But I think having everyone that we had last year, a lot of those guys, it was their first year of competitive tennis ever. So I think the difference maker was that year of experience under their belt. So everything was new last year. They kind of knew what they were doing this year.
Continuing on here with this season, the Volunteers were able to take on Nogales High School in the playoffs. Coach, I know the end result didn't go your way, but just how'd you feel about the effort you guys put out there in that playoff game?
I was really proud of our guys. We went against the number 4 seed. They had a long history of being in the tournament, and our number 1 player had a great win for us to start. And the way a tennis match works is you play 9 matches. the first team to 5 is the winner. And whether in a normal match, you're playing all 9 matches. At state, as soon as a team hits 5, all other matches stop. And so I was happy that we won a couple of singles matches. Our number 1 and our number 4 both won. And so then we got to go into the doubles and get more tennis, because it was a long drive from Kingman to Nogales. I was glad we got all the tennis in that we could. And that was a great experience for our guys. Now that they've been there, they've already set the new goal of next year being in the top 8 so that we can host a state tournament game instead of having to drive, 7 hours to the border. So,
well, I know you guys are all the way up in Mohave County, so it's quite a trek for you guys to drive all the way down to Nogales, which is that's New Mexico. So that's more of that's more what, east side of Arizona, right? Nogales is closer to New Mexico, right?
Border.
Yeah.
South of Tucson.
South of Tucson. So that's even worse. That's even further.
It is. It was rough.
But no, Coach, you talk about returning your one half of your state championship doubles team this year. Obviously, you welcomed in some new freshmen, of course. You did have a lone senior on your roster this year. So, let me re-ask this question then, Coach. You talk about playoff experience. Next year, you're going to be bringing back those freshmen you brought in this year. Your sophomores are going to be your juniors. Your juniors are going to be your seniors. So I want to ask, this playoff experience, I mean, how great is it for these guys who are entering that final year of their time with you, or entering their second year, just having that playoff experience? How important is that for your program going forward?
I think it's huge, because the word playoff isn't just this idea off in the future that you can kind of use your imagination to figure out. They know what that looks like. They know what that process is like, and being tested already once in a state tournament match, now they really know where they need to get better. I think returning next year, they'll be seniors next year. I've got 3 strong juniors who will probably be 1, 2, and 3 for me. And I've got 2 sophomores who've been solid for me the last 2 years as well, who will now be juniors. And so we could easily field the lineup of all juniors and seniors next year. And that's just priceless. We've learned too, every match in a season counts. Every score in a match matters. And so those older players know that, and they've also started to figure out how to win. So that's very helpful.
You had 1 senior on the roster this year in Montero Rodriguez. Can we talk a little bit about Montero's leadership and what he brought to the team this year?
Absolutely. I was thrilled the first day of practice when Montero showed up, because he was a transfer from Texas and could tell right away that he had tennis strokes. So there was a pretty big celebration on my part there. And Monty led by example. He worked hard. He would compete every single match. He was really, really thankful to inherit Cohen Juliffs as his doubles partner. It's pretty fun playing with a state champ. And
I bet.
The other thing that Montero said, Cohen ended up rated pretty high in the state for singles. And Montero was telling me on the way home from Nogales how much he improved because he had a player of Cohen's ability to practice with every day.
Well, and that's what's great about tennis, Coach, that sort of one-on-one aspect you get where you can really put, a guy like Montero, who's coming from a different state, obviously has some talent. You can line him up next to, your second or even your first best player, just to get Montero caught up to speed of Arizona tennis, which I'm sure there aren't too many changes, but, the pace might be different or whatever. Sure. Yeah. But, even more so, you get an opportunity to just work Montero as much as you can. And he finds his place on the roster. And obviously, like I said, you guys make the playoffs. So you put something together there that really works. Earlier, I was talking about, of course, next season, you'll be welcoming back your returners that we'll talk about here in a little bit. But, Coach, what can you expect from this group coming up? Like I said, you welcomed in a couple freshmen this year. You got some sophomores who are entering their second year. Obviously, all these guys now have playoff experience under their belts. So what can you expect from this group, Coach, going forward? And I mean, what do you think they can accomplish when they're all, they eventually graduate?
So you're saying as this younger core moves up, or returning all those players, or are you asking both? I'm sorry.
Well, Coach, sometimes I just sort of throw the question out there and I hope that you can interpret. No, just maybe more so of both. What are you expecting from your younger core players coming into next season? Then also those older kids who are, obviously kind of coming out. What are you expecting from both of those groups next season and going forward more so, of course, for the younger guys?
Well, it's great. Let's start with the older kids first. What's great about returning all of them is I don't really have to worry about that top level. And each level on the tennis ladder is more and more intense. And so we're returning a top player in the state at number one. And so those are the big boys at every tennis meet. And so I know going into it, I've got a really, really good chance that Cohen's going to win at one. I think he has lost 2 matches his entire singles career as a player. So that's great. Got leadership coming for the number 2 and 3 guys. The sophomores who will be turning into juniors, they've really started to commit to this where they're playing other sports, but they're starting to look at tennis now as maybe this is moving up my personal list of favorite sports. And so their commitment's going up. And then we've got a great freshman who has really, really strong skills. Mm-hmm. And I'm really excited to see what he's going to become, because in tennis, when you learn the right skills and the right form, you actually make jumps really fast. Yeah. So I am very curious to see how he returns. We have a really, really competitive JV team. And then I have been hearing from some 8th graders, there's kind of a growing buzz about the tennis program. And so I think we're going to have a very intense competition and battle for the 6, 5, and 4 spots next year, which is very exciting.
Well, Coach, hopefully it'll also open up the possibility of a JV team once again at Lee Williams, because I know you didn't have one this year. I don't remember if you had one last year. I don't remember if I'd asked you about that, but that's fantastic. I was going to ask regarding some of that interest. You're getting a lot of kids who are potentially looking at tennis being their one and only sport. What kind of skill level? You talked earlier about some of these guys kind of playing competitive tennis at the high school level for the first time. That doesn't necessarily mean that they don't know the sport of tennis or they haven't played it. So I'm curious, what is some of the skill level that you're seeing some of these guys come in? I mean, where are they in terms of their development when they enter your program?
All of the younger guys are pretty much beginners, and they've heard and they've seen that. And the tennis team has a good reputation in the school as being a fun sport to be in as well. And so it's been a really big blessing to have good athletes joining. Mm-hmm. And we put a racket in their hand. They've got good hand-eye skills. They play other sports, so they got good footwork, and they're willing to compete. And anything that we can teach them skill-wise just makes them much more competitive. And that's my greatest joy. The last regular season match of the year, we were at Betty Fairfax, and I was standing up high overlooking all the courts, and I saw all these guys that I've known for at least 2 years all competing. And I had this incredible feeling of satisfaction as I looked at them all thinking, they actually look like a state qualifying tennis team. They all look like tennis players out there. So for me, there's nothing greater than that. And because they do compete with each other for spots, practices are very competitive, because when I'm teaching a guy how to hold the racket right or how to hit the serve right, a lot of them are paying attention, because if their buddy's learning it and they're competing for a spot, they want to learn it too. And so it kind of creates a friendly but competitive environment where they're really pushing themselves to learn the skills as fast as they can.
How do you sort of walk that line, Coach, of course, competition in practice, but also, keeping the element of, hey, we're a team, we're in competition with each other, but it doesn't mean, that one person's better than everyone else or whatnot. Obviously skill levels are different. So as a coach, I mean, how do you kind of keep that line towed during practice of like, hey, it's going to be Steve versus Tom, and Steve and Tom are battling for number one, and obviously don't want to cause friction within the team. So I'm just curious, how do you kind of strike that balance between fun and competitiveness?
Well, I think the first thing is I don't have them challenge each other more than twice in a season. Okay. I've seen on different teams where people are earning a spot and the next week they're challenged and they have a bad day and they lose it, and it starts to wear out the relationships in a big way. And so they know going into the season that they're going to get 1 or 2 chances to make a jump up the ladder. And I give a pretty hard message before every single match. I do it personally on every single court to remind them that it's good to want to win. It's good to compete. At the end of the day, we're still a team. But I'll tell you, I go home from those challenge match days kind of sick to my stomach, because these are all my players. Yeah. Half of them have won and are happy, and the other half have lost and are dejected. And so you can't really feel good, but it's a good process, and it's good for the guys. It's good for the guys to be tested, and it's a meritocracy. You have to earn your spot.
Yeah, of course, especially in a sport like tennis, where it is very much, that singles element or the doubles element. It's not like basketball where guys fill certain roles. You've got the one guy who can play defense well, and the other guy who can shoot 3-pointers well. It's pretty much, I mean, if you can hit the tennis ball, you can. If you can't, you're probably not on the team,
Right.
or you're the fourth or
Right.
fifth guy up. But
Right.
again, we are speaking with Lee Williams High School tennis coach Matt Larson. The Volunteers finished their season with an 11-3 overall record, 4-1 in Section 3, that is Division II tennis, earned them the number 13 rank in the state. Coach, we got a couple questions here before we let you go. First and foremost, Section 2 in Division 2. What did you see from the competition this year inside the section? And, what can you say about Division II tennis?
I think Division II really acquitted itself very well at the state tournament this year. We had multiple teams make the top 16. And then at the individual tournament as well, we had multiple players from multiple teams win multiple rounds. And so I came out of the state tournament this last weekend feeling great about our section, that it's very competitive. We've got some great players, we've got some great coaches, and we've got some great programs for sure. So we got a very competitive section overall. The other thing that I loved about our section was we really try hard to beat each other.
Yeah.
But when we were down at state, we cheered for each other because we know each other. We spend time with each other. So there's a good camaraderie there, and there's great sportsmanship with the other teams in our section as well. So it makes it a really neat experience.
Coach Larson, the offseason is officially upon us. You've already talked about kind of trying to get more kids out to the program. So more so in the tennis operations in general. I mean, what's the offseason look like? Will you guys compete against any other schools during the offseason? Are you going to take a nice little vacation potentially? I mean, what's the plan for the offseason?
Well, our summers are not very long. Our kids go on break at the end of May, and they're already back in school by mid-July. And so summer here is not what summer was for me growing up, where you had 3 long months. My goal is to have a little bit of a break for everyone. My top player, Colin Juliffs, I know he's going to be playing some tournaments. And I'm really blessed to have a couple of people who want to pour into these tennis players as well. So I'm hoping to get my students paired up on the court with some adults who know how to play tennis in the community, and kind of multiply the coaching here to get them going. That's kind of the plan for the offseason. But I think it's just important that they don't put their racket in the closet, not pick it up again until January of next year. That's huge.
Well, an ever-growing program in Division II, Section 3 is Lee Williams High School tennis, and they are led by this coach right here, Matt Larson. Coach Larson, thank you very much for coming on the show. We'll touch base again when we get closer to the start of the season, of course. I appreciate your time, sir, as usual, and have a great off season and keep me up to date.
Cool. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Anytime, Coach. So that's going to do it for this episode of Off the Bench. I'm your host, Philip Catalfamo, wishing you a great rest of your week. We'll see you again next time.